Hi guys, I'm here with a special guest. I'm here with the head of analysis of Dundee United, Stevie. Thank you for tuning in and allowing me to interview you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. You're someone I've had my eyes on for a while, and I know for a backstory, people, I DM'd him and asked him, and I can't praise him enough for simply just replying and being up for it. You're someone I've had my eyes on for a while, and when I first spoke to you on the phone, and you said you replied because I had an Arsenal jacket on or something, I thought I'm in good luck here. You support a decent team. But yeah, people, he's someone that's I look up to, someone that's walked the walk I want to go on one day. He's had a number of positions. I've seen you've been a technical director, you've been a director, you've had positions in India, the shirt you've got on Canada, obviously in Scotland. Yeah, I just want to jump into it. How has football treated you? Because you've seen the world, you've done a lot, you've seen many different cultures and things. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's humbling, for people to put enough faith in you to bring them across the world. In some cases, to try and help them with whatever their objective within football is. So it's humbling for a start, and I've been fortunate to being able to travel so much because some people don't get the opportunity to leave their own town. Never mind, working like 4 or 5 different continents. So it's humbling.
What was the best continent or best country you've lived in, or way of life and things like that? So far in your footballing career.
We really enjoyed living in Canada. You don't have the linguistic problem that you would have in Switzerland. Financially, it was okay. So India was probably the most interesting because it's just every day is crazy. But yeah, I think we probably enjoyed living in Canada the most.
It's funny you said India, and I wanted to ask you this at the end, but you said India, and obviously they're a nation of 1 billion people and stuff, but you never hear anything really in relation to them developing footballers or footballers to play at European level, at least to a fan like me. Obviously you've been in India, do you feel there's a specific reason for that? Do you think there's more to be done, or is it something completely different?
They don't really have the infrastructure to be able to do it, which is the biggest issue. So oh shit. Can I phone you back?
Yeah. Apologies for the technical difficulty, folks. Things happen, but we're back again. So where was we, Stevie? I want to take it back to the beginning. Now, when and where did your love for football come from initially?
I think most kids in Scotland just grow up and play football in the playground. So it's just one of those things where everybody goes to school, you play football all day. People speak about football. Football's a lot of people just their lives. So it's just it's a cultural thing. If you lived in India, you'd like cricket, and if you went to Norway, maybe do skiing and stuff like that, or Canada, you do ice hockey. So it's a cultural thing. I think it's circumstantial, cultural. So it's same for everybody, I think.
Okay, that makes sense. And obviously anyone that just types your name in Google, you've done some great things. You're now obviously head of department at Dundee. You've been a technical director. You've been a coach at a time. You've done it all. You've dipped your hand in a lot. So why was this where you find yourself now? What made it, I want to do this now. I want to force my way in this. This is the particular avenue within the footballing pyramid for me.
I think, the last year of my time in Canada became a situation where I was like, right, how am I going to work in professional football as a head coach? Because that was the ambition. And the only route I could see was either go home and work in the academy or work in the first team environment. And both opportunities were there within the same place. So I spoke to a bunch of different clubs, and then I spoke to the manager here. I spoke to the academy director. I spoke to the sporting director, and between Andy, Tony, and Robbie, I was convinced he was the best place. And fortunately, like Dundee Utd'S, it's an ambitious club, new owners, good players. It's a historical club, so
very big club.
Those were all appealing things. But also, I'm from Perth, which is 20 minutes from Dundee. My wife's parents are from a village just outside Dundee, between Perth and Dundee. So it was kind of a bunch of the perfect circumstances came together, really.
So logistically, football ambitions and logistical reasons, it just made perfect sense. Yeah, I can understand. I can understand why you do that. In relation to your actual role, what enticed you to opposition scouting in particular? Because I mean, there's many different variations of scouting you could have done or maybe have done before. What made it where you wanted to go?
I think like when you're a coach, you're always doing scouting and analysis anyway. So like when I've been a head coach in the past, if I had the opportunity to watch the opponent, take notes, I'd make sure we understood how to beat them, how they could beat us, and then look for a way to try and direct the game in a way where we could control everything. So when you're a coach, you do scouting, you do analysis. Obviously, I've got a tactical writing background, that sort of thing, which some people are aware of. So it's not like, I wouldn't say it's a career change. It's just you're using one part of your skill set in a very specific section. So if I was a coach, I would still be doing analysis. But just now, I'm working as basically the analysis department. So the things I give to the manager, I can give them from how I would approach it as a coach, which I think in some clubs is quite valuable because you speak to the manager with a level of, I don't want to say credibility because it's probably not the right word, but if I can say to him how I would approach it as a coach, how I would approach that game rather than just from here's some information and it doesn't really mean anything. So it's not like I've changed from being a coach to being an analyst. It's just they're two jobs which are largely combined. But my current role just now is I don't need to be in a training field every day organising training. It's just you get to a point where you say, right, this is how I think we can beat the opponent, and then the staff can use that information to shape, training, what the training week will look like, what the game plan might look like, and then subsequently what the team should look like. So it's taking one element of a skill set and using it for the club's advantage.
Okay. Do you ever miss the hustle and bustle of being a head coach? Because you still talk like one, based on what you said. You still talk like a head coach.
But I think if you've had 16 years as a coach, it's not something that ever just leaves you. You think about how you'd structure training. You think about how you would approach a game. You would, like, even when I do the analysis, I wouldn't say to the manager, here's a training drill I would do. But I know that I would write down a training drill for how to, make sure we can see these parts of the game plan within training. So these are sort of things which they never leave you, but I do miss it because the nature of an analysis job is not 40 hours a week.
Okay.
It's not just watching all the teams, Like, part of the reason for coming here was I was supposed to be coaching the 16s in the academy as well, but you don't have time to do it all. So you can either be really focused on doing your job properly, or you can split yourself in half, and they both suffer. So I had to I wasn't forced to make a decision. I made it myself. But of course, you miss coaching every day.
So I guess the door's not closed fully on ever returning back to being a head coach or a coach in any capacity.
No. I mean, let's say the manager, like, let's say when we go back, if the manager says to me, "Oh, do you want to take training?" Like, just out the blue randomly on a Monday morning, of course, I wouldn't say no. So it's one of those things, like, you want to do it. Ideally, you would have your own team and you would focus on it every day. But if somebody asks you to come and take a session occasionally just to stay involved, or because you want to try out a new idea, or because they feel like a fresh voice is going to be good for them, then you don't really say no. You go and do it, and you enjoy it when you're there.
Okay. I know what your role is, but for people who don't necessarily know, what specifically would you do on a match day? And what I mean by match day is, if, I don't know, your manager or the head coach said, I want you to go and watch ABC United, what would you then do? Obviously, you'd arrive at the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do that. Within the structure, we have a team of maybe 5 or 6 scouts who go and watch future opponents on the game day. So, for example, like if Dundee United are playing Inverness on a Saturday, we'll have somebody at Dundee, somebody at Ayr, somebody at Dunfermline, somebody at Alloa, watching each of the other teams. So I don't need to do that. The manager and the staff will normally go and watch teams live. If I have to do it, then I will do it, but I don't really need to. My job's mostly to watch the video, and I'll watch the last 4 games. On a game day, my role's evolved in the last kind of 6-7 games. Before, it was me filming the game and giving a little bit of input at halftime to the manager. But Now it's more just a case of we have somebody who films the game, somebody who live codes it, because we got some people in to help. We now got a wide angle camera in the stadium, so we can watch it on a 40-second delay. So I sit with one of the coaching staff in the stadium, in the stands now, and we have 2 people doing the filming and coding. So my job is to sit with one of the first team coaches in the stand and make sure he's got, you know, access to the game from our view, but also to be able to go over things to then feed information back into the bench. So my job has changed a little bit in terms of game day now, from doing filming to doing filming and coding to sitting with one of the staff and helping, you know, look at what the game's looking like and then helping them make the decisions whatever they want to make.
Okay. And if I had to press you, I mean, in every role there are, I wouldn't say things there aren't you don't particularly like, but things if you could, what do you particularly love about that one thing you really love, and one thing if you could do without, you would do without?
The most enjoyable bit is, you know, when you assess the other team and you know exactly how you're going to beat them, and when you put the presentation together and you show it on a Monday, and some things get put together in training, and you can see it happening on a Saturday and you win. That's obviously the most enjoyable thing, but it's not just right in front of you. It takes a week to be shown, or in some cases 2 or 3 weeks to be shown. So, you know, like, that's the most enjoyable bit. The least enjoyable bit is probably filming training.
I can imagine.
In Scotland, it's pouring the rain sometimes. It's really windy. Up until recently, we were using a handheld camera with a little bit of elevation, and it's not the most enjoyable part of the job. But like, the club went and invested in some high angle system called capture mast. So we've got these 25, 30 foot stands where rotational cameras and stuff like that. So we can film everything from a vantage point, and it's a bit more enjoyable doing it that way, I can tell you, than standing in the freezing cold with a handheld camera on a scaffolding.
I mean, I'll never complain about living in London after what you've just said about Scotland. I have no right to complain. Obviously, within your role, there are use of statistics and statistics. You might not use them as much as maybe someone that was scouting potential incoming players, but what degree do you use statistics to gauge what you require? And has the use of statistics sort of evolved in your time in your role?
Yeah. Like, when I first started, it was like a blank slate. I didn't know what had been done before. After the first 9 games, I did a review. So we assessed, you know, expected goals per game, and then on a rolling XG basis over 4-game rolling expected goals. So we could assess trends. We'd look at player output, what they were doing within the context of the team, within the league. What would a good player in that position do? And, you know, are we above it, below it? Things which might be sustainable or unsustainable, and then assess, you know, if we're scoring a disproportionate amount of goals from headers, for example, would that be sustainable based on what we're doing, or is it just, you know, Shanklin's amazing in the air, so you can continue doing it knowing that it plays to his strengths. Within all the analysis process, you've got like recruitment, which is incoming and outgoing. What do you have? What do you need? What would an upgrade look like? How would you make that sustainable over a long time? There's probably 7 or 8 different parts of analysis which you use data for. So there's certain KPIs you're going to look at for each game. Certain KPIs you're going to look at for the opposition teams. There's certain KPIs you'll look at for recruitment, and then you place more value on some than you do for others. So it's normal. Every club's going to have different processes and different equipment to do it. But at the end of the day, your job is to put a winning team on the park and make sure you've got more goals and a sustainable playing model which won't suffer any massive dips in form or any huge unsustainable, you know, runs of results. But I mean, when they come, you accept them because obviously they're good.
That makes sense. Personally, I think I think stats are a good thing, and I think the more stats that you can help use to paint a picture are a good thing, of course. But I do have a pet peeve with stats. I do think it's way too broadly in football nowadays, and especially if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not going to find the right conclusions. Do you feel the same way, or are you of the, more stats is better? You can never have too many.
I think the skill is looking at what's relevant and then
Exactly.
translating it to actually get some sort of insight. At the end of the day, like, the skill in the job is translating the information that you have to make it accessible for the staff. It's not up to the staff to go and learn different expected goals models. It's not up to the staff to go and learn about packing metrics or progressive passes through midfielders. Their job's to train the team and make sure they're able to win. My job is to look at various things which are going to give us some insight, and if part of that's data, most of it's watching the opponent and figuring out what the game plan should be to beat them. Sometimes it might be that you look at a team and say, well, let's say they make 35 crosses a game. Well, there's 4 guys who cross it. So let's say that one of them's got a really high cross conversion rate. Maybe his cross conversion rate's like 1 in 3. Well, we don't want him to be crossing it because his crossing's good, but there might be somebody whose cross conversion rate's like 1 in 15. You're happy for them to cross it. So you might use data to assess which player do you allow to cross the ball in the box and which one do you not. So like little things like that would then go off and towards informing the game plan.
That makes sense. In relation to in-house players and scouts, using statistics in relation to what you do, has there only been times where you've potentially had to raise red flags to the head coach about, this player might be declining, his expected goals that is down, his whatever sort of thing?
It's interesting, the question, because most of the time your eyes will tell you that without the data being there to back it up. Like, you can watch a player and you know they're not playing well, you know they're off form. And it could be a variety of reasons. It could be fatigue. It could be that they're just coming back from injury. It could be that they're just about to get injured because of fatigue. It could be just that some opponents have doubled up on them. It could be that they struggle playing against a low block, because you have some players who they struggle in small spaces. That's because that's just the way that they play. It might be that you might have a striker who prefers playing as part of a 2, and his partner's been injured, for example, and then you have to pair him up with somebody else, and there's not quite the same chemistry. So you don't always need to say to the manager based on numbers. You can say to the manager and the coaching staff what you think, and they'll probably already have the same thoughts based on just watching the game and training every day and how players feel. And sometimes you just need to freshen up the team, just psychologically, to get people back on it. So it's a lot of the time for those things, you don't necessarily need numbers or data to tell you what to do.
That makes sense. You mentioned psychological, and that brings me back. That sets it up nicely for a second question. When I did my talent identification course, sorry for being tongue-tied, they mentioned biases and unconscious biases, and since that day, it's really played on me. Unconscious biases, like, you might not know that it's at play in your line of work. That, to exaggerate a bit, that could be the difference between seeing something that can help your team and seeing something that can actually harm your team. How aware of you are of this? How aware of you of your own biases, and what do you do to kind of go against this? Do you have multiple people watch the same game or relay different information? Or I'm not sure.
I mean, the different types of biases you're going to have, like confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Like, let's say I want to prove a point, I can go looking for that in the data, and it proves a point, and I can show it. I might have preconception bias, where there's already something that I believe to be true, and the data can confirm it if I wanted to. I might have, self-image bias, for example. So I'm 5'5" and a little guy. So maybe if I go to try and recruit a player, I might be more inclined towards little technical players like a Santi Cazorla over a big physical player like a Pogba, for example, just because he's a big physical guy. They maybe have the same skill set, but me as a little guy, I might be more inclined to say I prefer that one because he's also a little guy. At the same time, you as a coach might have been a big target man, and that's the type of player you like, big physical guy. So there's like self-image bias, preconception bias, confirmation bias, those sort of things that you have to be aware of. if you're aware of them, then you can try and cut them down. But if you're not aware of them, there's nothing you can really do until somebody else points it out to you.
Points it out to you, yeah. That makes sense.
So
Oh, sorry, I thought.
yeah, I mean, I might want to play in one style, and the coaching staff want to play in a different style. I could show them loads of data which back up what I think, but at the end of the day, if they don't believe in it and they put the team out to play that way, it's not going to be done properly, and you're going to get beat. It's just going to come back on you anyway. So it's one of those things where you need to be as objective as possible and try and remove as many biases as you can.
Okay. How frustrating can it be? Because I see it with a lot of scouts. I see it with some coaches. They'll spend hours looking at a piece of data or making a presentation, warning against something, or maybe even pleading for a player to come in, whatever different period. How frustrating can it be to do your homework in your position, to really scrutinize what you're doing, and your advice or what your findings are not heeded or are not taken on, and then it's almost, I don't want to say I told you so, but it's almost an I told you so moment. How frustrated? That's surely
we honestly, we haven't really had that this season. There've been times where I've said I wouldn't attack in this manner, but based on the defence of the other team, and maybe they've got a centre back injured, for example, you might put in more crosses than normal. But we all know that scoring off crosses is hard because the delivery's got to be right, the time of the run's got to be right, the position's got to be right. Just headers in general are hard to score from, but we have a striker who's really good in the air, so you can put it in the box and Shankland will score a higher than normal amount of headers. So there might be times where I'll have said, I would attack in this way, but we've spent more time attacking in a different way because we've identified that there's a hole in the back line and you can attack from a wider area rather than centrally. But right, from my perspective, in all the games that we had, never had that situation where you do a lot of work and it's just ignored. It's never happened.
Okay, that's. I mean, I'm happy to hear that because I mean, you're the first person that's not gone through that. You've had quite the illustrious career, and you're only getting started, and you're only going on to bigger things. But was there a period? Just because a lot of people who watch my stuff want to go on the journey, has there ever been a period of self-doubt, or you thought you couldn't do it, or you thought, let me consider some other stuff?
Yeah, there was times at the start of this season where I was like so snowed under with work because I didn't know the league. I'd been away for so long. I didn't know any of the players. There was maybe a wee bit of self-doubt. Is the information I give good enough? Is it what they want? And I think maybe got 4 or 5 games into the season, and a few folk had said, look, the information's great, but like I just need to improve other things. So the other things are like just how you present it, which the presentation was good, but we put it on a club template to try and manage my time better because I was at work like 8 hours a week plus doing stuff at night until stupid o'clock in the morning because I couldn't use sports code properly. So I'd have to phone people up and be like, right, go and show me how to do this. And then people would give me a bit of advice, and then gradually I'd be chopping off. Like I'd be doing like 8 hours and they'd turn it into 2 hours. And I'd be like, right, this is good. I'd do that twice a week. So that would save me like 14 hours a week. So like just learning how to use the technology and the software, there was obviously a lot of self-doubt with that just now. I've been sitting this morning learning how to use R. I have absolutely no idea if I'm ever going to be good at it. Probably not, but I'll try. I remember moving from Scotland to Switzerland and thinking, like, what are you doing? Just left. You've taken literally everything you have. Don't speak the language. Nobody knows who you are. How are you going to be a proper coach in Switzerland? And I remember one day sitting at the train station in Lausanne and just being like, you're an idiot. On the way to a job interview with a club. And then I got the job because they thought I was the right personality for it. And with a decent enough background, but more the personality they thought I'd be right for the team. So I was like, this is fine. But yeah, there's self-doubt all the time.
I've got to ask you about how did your time in Switzerland in terms of managing go? Because you mentioned it, I'd be keen to know.
It was tough. It was really tough. At the start, I had to figure out what the players could do, what they couldn't do, what they understood. There was quite a few bilingual guys in the team, which was fine, but there's obviously communication problems. the club were, the president was mostly supportive. He was a good guy. There was a few people slightly below him who were always doubtful and sceptical. But I thought the team improved a lot over the season. They got better. Results improved a lot over the season. But when I think back on it, like, if I'd known what I know now and I took that team, I would do everything completely differently.
Wow.
So from my perspective, like, it went really well. Or it went well, but it could have been a lot better had I been able to make the team fitter. I think fitness in that team was something that needed to be worked on more, but I wanted to really ingrain a style of play. But at the same time, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't effective enough at getting fitness within the style of play sessions together. We should have had more beer pong tournaments on a Thursday. I remember one night, like 3 or 4 of the young boys turned up like 200 odd cans of beer because I was there early, and I was like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, nothing, coach, nothing, coach." And I was like, "Right." Nobody turns up with 200 cans of beer and doing nothing.
Can't put that past a Scotsman, man.
and then one of the English boys said to me, he's like, "Oh, every third Thursday we have a beer pong tournament." I was like, "Right, okay." So I just stayed with them until midnight, and I thought, probably should have done it more often, to be honest, because it was good. It was a good laugh. It probably would have helped me integrate a wee bit faster. Probably would have helped my French a lot more than probably in the grand scheme of things. I think it probably would have helped in terms of getting the players to work together a wee bit better.
That makes sense. So would you say in today's football, because you've kind of touched on it, like a human perspective, communication, do you feel that's equally as important, if not more important than tactics? Because I personally feel it is, in the sense of course you need tactics, but you see with someone like Jose Mourinho, with how strong player power is, if you haven't got them on side, then it's over before you've even begun.
Yeah, I think I always had the players on side because I knew I was good. Especially at the time, because I was younger than quite a few of them. So I think there was a respect there because they knew I was good. They knew I was trying to do it in French. We were really well organised and well prepared. But a lot of the boys in the team were friends, so there was never any issues with communication. I think it was just more of a clarity of game understanding thing, and just being really open with each other to say, "Look, this needs to be better, or that needs to be better," or for people to take responsibility for mistakes, which me included, I don't think there was enough of that. So one of those things where you can have as well organised a team as it is, but if people aren't willing to take responsibility for things that have gone well or gone badly, then it doesn't really matter.
How tough was it to walk away from Switzerland?
I mean, I had a new job, so it had to, but it was difficult.
It makes sense. But I'm going to leave this here. I've really learned a lot listening to what you've had to say. I really appreciate you for coming in, coming through and things like that. And I wish you all the best. And again, I'd love to do this again soon. So thank you for doing this with me.
Yeah, pleasure. Cheers for your questions.
No worries. Thank you for, replying to my DM. Thank you.
Cheers.
Take care.
Bye.